See, all right, I've got the head coach fresh off the practice field. How was day one? I got to imagine it feels really good to get back out there. That was a long 3 months between the end of the last game and practice starting today.
Yeah, definitely. It was so much fun to be a part of a practice with this 2019 team. I was so proud of the kids for the off-season work that they've put in the month of January and February, and it really paid off today. You know, it's one of 15 practices. It didn't look like a first-time practice with the new offensive system, some changes defensively to make it even simpler for our kids to play fast. And I credit our kids and our coaches. They've really poured a lot of work in, especially in the month of February, to prepare for today. And to go out there and see the energy, to see the fresh energy of 4 new coaches, support staff, recruiters, it was a lot of fun to be back on the grass.
Let's stay on that new offensive system. That's the sort of big talking point, or first talking point of spring football. What's installation look like for that? Does it get done over 15 practices? Is this just the beginning? How does it work?
Yeah, really one of the things that coming off of last season, I think as a leader you always have to own up to mistakes and be able to address issues that you feel. And one of the things that I wanted to do offensively for our kids is bring in a simple scheme to allow them to play fast and to see and to make it mesh up with the personnel that we've had. And to bring Graham in, so excited. And the system he brings in, it allows our kids to play fast. My blood pressure was so down today just watching our kids run around, to be able to see a Devin Williams walk out there and just be fully functional, really play as fast as I've seen them play, and kids pick up this system day one. There wasn't a lot of bust, and I credit the work that our coaches have done over the last couple weeks, in meetings, but also the ability of the simplicity of the system that it brings.
Yeah, give me maybe an example of the simplicity. When Graham Harrell met with the media the other day, he sort of told the story, this joke about him when he went to play with the Green Bay Packers, and he saw this giant playbook, and he saw these plays that were paragraph long, and he said, if you pay me a lot of money, I can turn that into a tiny little stack of papers for you. So give me an idea maybe about how much more simple, or how it works differently now.
Well, I think one of the things that happens is a lot of times you're getting 5 men out, so there's a lot of answers for the quarterback. And there's not a ton of plays. Basically, you're mastering your craft. You're mastering your system. It's the attention to detail to doing a route perfectly. And a quarterback seeing the same route over and over and over and over again, and anticipating where that ball is going based off coverage. And it was evident even today, how fast the ball was coming out, how quick the decisions the quarterbacks were making. It was a good first day. Now we got 14 to go to even get to build on it today.
So then what are the goals for the offense this spring? If it's not all about playbook, what are you really focusing on?
Well, I think everybody has an ownership in what their priorities are. For me as a head coach, it's going to be different than the coordinators. For me as a head coach, I needed to own exactly what happened in 2018. I think a leader, identifies the mistakes, owns up to the mistakes, makes it a priority, comes up with a plan to fix it, and then executes that plan. And for me, when I looked at it, one, I wanted simpler schemes. We did that with the coordinators. The second thing was the discipline of the game for me as far as penalties. I thought that we'd lost games down the stretch because of the discipline of the game with penalties. The next one was the turnover margin. Yep. We talked about it being all about the ball, but we didn't live it. Yep. Fact of the matter is, and I look at the Notre Dame game and the Cal and how turnovers in the red zone cost us those 2 games. Yeah. It cost us the opportunity of going back to Santa Clara. And as I told the media today, this will be the last time I talk. Today's the last time I'm going to talk about the 2018 season, to be able to address those mistakes and put a plan together that we executed today, even in practice 1. The sense of urgency to correct those mistakes, our team understands, and they saw the difference today in practice, and they'll feel it consistently every day. So that's my focus. I've got blinders on. Coordinators are going to do X's and O's. They're going to do schemes. But for me, it's going to be fundamentals, technique, the discipline of the game, and getting the ball back defensively and protecting it offensively.
And it does seem like a little bit of a fresh start for everybody. Sort of a fresh look from your side in your role. A new offensive coordinator. So some new coaches everywhere, and you've opened up the quarterback competition. That's sort of the spot out everyone always looks at on the field. What is the quarterback competition going to entail? Is it something that you will name? Is it something that will be entirely in Coach Harrell's name? And what's the sort of timeline on it?
Yeah, for me, I wanted every position. I think anytime you bring a new system in and you're thinking defensively, systemly, every position needs to be open. It is about competition. That's what that field has been about. And like I told the kids, one of the things that I don't want anybody to ever get comfortable or stagnant in their position. That's life. You have to compete on a daily basis. So for the quarterbacks going in, anytime you bring a new system in, it does need to be an open competition. And our quarterbacks welcome that. That's why they came here.
For sure.
There's going to be good guys here. You have a system here, and we need to see which guy fits the best within the system. Obviously, we've got 15 practices here to be able to leave spring ball and say, hey, if we had to play a game tomorrow, this is the way it would be. But there's a lot of time between now and that first game, and you don't want to get comfortable, So we'll take these 15 practices. I am going to rely heavily on Graham and his opinion of who's fitting the best, and then let our kids know that, hey, if we had to play next weekend, this is the way it would be, and just to provide clarity for them. But with them having the understanding that you're still trying to define your role, going into that opening game.
And the other sort of big news that I don't know if it's been officially announced. I know you talked about it after practice day, but he's around. He's back. A familiar face, a familiar bald dome that we saw for years around here. But you have a major change in strength and conditioning coach, and I think people sort of get that now in football that is such a huge role in a football program, given the way the rules work and how important that person is as sort of an off-season head coach at times. Aaron Osmus, a guy that many of us are familiar with, but what are the qualities that he brings to that role as Ivan Lewis transitions to the NFL and the Seattle Seahawks?
It's so important. It's as important as your OC, your DC, your special teams coordinator. I call them the four horsemen. I mean, you've got four coordinators in your program, and Aaron, was a known commodity. He's been a Trojan. He's won a national championship back here in 2003 on the strength staff. I watched him lead 2 SEC programs. I watched him take a 2010 team when he first got here, and 1 year later I saw how those kids were developed. And that was one of the better teams I'd ever been on in 2011 and finished as one of the top in the country that year. And I watched our kids in 1 year, how they physically developed. And then obviously anytime you have a coaching change, a new head coach is going to bring in their own guy. And Aaron, Aaron was replaced by Ivan. But as I went through the process, I treated it just like in hiring an OC. I wasn't going to rush because I knew how important it was. I wanted to get it right because I knew the guy needs to bring discipline down in the weight room. He needs to bring energy, attitude. He's got to be knowledgeable and competent to develop our kids. And at the end of the day, when I looked at everybody, I literally said, that's the guy. I know exactly what we're getting. I know he loves the kids. I know how hard he works. I know how knowledgeable he is with it. And I know he can develop kids in the right way. And it's just great to see him back. And the staff he's putting together right now, I think, is going to be one of the best strength staffs there is in the world.
Double A is back, and Coach Helton will be back for one more segment. We'll take a quick break here. You're listening to Trojans Live on ESPN LA 710. I know you don't want to talk about 2018, and I'm fine with that. I think we're all done with 2018. I will say, as a coach, always the positive of losing is sort of you have everyone's attention, I would imagine. And as you went through the off-season program and as you see them in spring, is there a different edge? Because I was just watching a video with guys that seem to have a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder, and sometimes it's hard to get at a place like USC. These are five-star kids. They haven't lost a lot in their careers. They're not used to it. But do you see that, maybe a little anger that you can work with?
I think we're all angry.
Yeah.
I think we're all mad and embarrassed. And we all, from coaches to players, have that hunger, have that chip on our shoulder, have something to prove. And we're working every day towards. I could feel it, and I'm so proud of our kids in the winter workouts. There was a no-nonsense Just we're doing everything the right way to the smallest thing.
Yep.
And when they start leading each other, it's a huge part of it. And even today, I mean, I really appreciated our coaches, how they addressed each and one of their position groups too. They didn't let one little thing slide at all. And so there's a different feel for me. I think every team's different. You know, every different team has a different feel. You had some older established guys on the team last year. You got some kids that have played ball on this team, but they're hungry to prove something. You know, and right now it's only words, and that's what I told them. I said, you know, right now we can only put the work in. We can say we're going to do it, but at the end of the day, it's going to come into September and putting wins on the board.
Yeah, as you said, you have to replace all 4 captains. You have a very small senior class. Who are emerging as the leaders that you've seen?
Well, I love it because I think it's the offensive line.
That's a good place to start.
Literally, our offense has a big man feel to it. When I say Austin Jackson, Elijah Vera Tucker, you know, Andrew Voorhees, Jalen McKenzie, I think Brett Nealon and Justin Dietrich did a phenomenal job today. Jacob Daniel, Liam Jimmons coming over from that D-line going to tackle, Clayton Johnston. There's this 2 deep right now that just feels so strong, and you can feel them kind of running the team. And then you have some very energetic, skilled kids that have played a lot of ball and are not only leading vocally but leading by example. One of them just walked in, Michael Pittman, and he's been a leader of this team for several years now. So, you know, I love this 2019 team right now just because they don't feel entitled. They know they have to go earn it, and that's a mentality that you want amongst your team.
Looking at the defensive side of the ball, we focus mostly offensively in the first segment. And, you know, obviously you bring back your defensive coordinator in Clancy Pendergast, but you have a lot of new coaches on that side of the ball. You know, what are you looking forward to? What are you looking to accomplish defensively over the next, 6 weeks?
Yeah, you know, we sat down with Clancy, and I sat down. And I said one of the things that, and he was in total agreement. He wanted to make the system simpler for the kids, and so they could play faster. We also wanted to reposition some kids to make a bigger front. I think that's one of the changes that you'll see across the board. How big the defensive front is from side to side, and those changes I could feel today out of practice, and you know, defensively, to bring in a Chad Kahaha, to bring in
Coach K. I think we just need to settle on Coach K.
Coach Chad, Joe DeForest, who I've worked with in the past, who's done a tremendous job for us, and Greg Burns, who's been here, won a national championship, brings so much experience. To watch those guys work today was really exciting. I had so much fun today because I was watching just this new, fresh energy with new faces, and how hard our kids were buying in, and how hard they practiced today for those guys. There seems to be a great chemistry, something that we developed in February and now is pushing into spring ball.
Yeah, Greg Burns, your new defensive backs coach. He was the DB's coach way back in early Pete Carroll days. So a lot of onus on him. You've talked about technique. There's technique to learn because that is a young group in the secondary. I mean, it's pretty much entirely made up of freshmen and sophomores. You get a nice influx of depth come this fall, but right now you're really thin. What's the onus on Coach Burns to deliver some talented guys, but boy, some youthful.
Well, that's one of the things that I think we've got. 3 really good people, in being able to move Johnny and Nansen to inside linebackers. That allowed Coach Clancy to be able to walk around and get to group. So you really can have 3 guys right now. Greg's doing a phenomenal job, but Clancy being able to help out, as well as we brought Chris Hawkins back, as a graduate assistant coach that knows the system. And I even could tell today, I mean, it was like, man, guys made to be a coach. I mean, he was a great player for us, but gosh almighty, he's going to be even a better coach. So to have those 3 gentlemen that know the system so well, and to get into this young, talented DB core. It's okay to be young. It is. All we got to do is get them to do the right things because they are unbelievably skilled. And when you talk about Isaac Taylor Stewart and Elijah Griffin and Isaiah Polamau and Talanoa Hufanga, Chase Williams, those type of men, and there's even more coming. This is a special group that is going to be deep, and just got to get them, fundamentally sound, assignment sound from now till that first game.
You mentioned Chris Hawkins. You brought back Michael Hutchings last year. He's still with the team. You brought back Vianney Talamaival as well this year. So there's 3 players that you won a Rose Bowl with. So you've shared success with them. I know that they have their jobs, whatever their job is as a grad assistant, and that's probably involves some dirty work and helping out coaches and things like that. But how much is it just wanting guys like that around the locker room, around the players, guys that you trust to build the culture the way you want it?
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was ultra important to bring guys that you've been in a foxhole with and understand exactly what I want. And exactly what is demanded. We've been down that road together. We've won a Rose Bowl together. They know what it takes. And being young people, they really can, there's a great chemistry. A lot of times a young person will listen to a young coach and be able to say, hey, I was in your shoes just a couple of years ago, and listen to exactly what they're saying. Yeah, I did, and it paid off into winning a Rose Bowl and being a Pac-12 champion. And, to have those 3 guys with us right now, I can't tell you how good it does my heart to see guys that you love, that you've coached, and now they're moving on to their next step. But they're doing a great job with our kids of saying, hey, this is what the culture is about. This is what coach wants. This is what is demanded. Set that standard and live by it.
Speaking of guys that we love and wish we were here tonight, obviously my buddy John Jackson, your friend John Jackson, not here, but so I wanted a special question out for him. We got to see a John Jackson on the field out there today. John Jackson III wearing number 87. You're pretty thin at wide receiver right now. You have some really talented guys at wide receiver. I think anyone in the country would take your wide receiver core. But it does seem like maybe some opportunities for him and for some of these freshmen. What do you see from JJ3 out there?
Man, I'm so proud of him. I know this is going to be better than Dad.
He didn't get that number 1. Dad probably locked that number 1 down.
Dad was a great player, and I got to hug Dad's neck a couple weeks ago, and wishing him nothing but the best and a healthy recovery. But it was so great. Did my heart well to see John out there today. Made some plays. Loves the game, and even walked up to me in practice. He said, Coach, I love being here, and just thank you for letting me wear the cardinal and gold, and that's a special thing. You're talking about a special kid that comes from a special family, and there's trained and untrained, and he's been trained the right way by his daddy.
Yeah, you always sort of bank on coaches' kids, experienced players' kids kind of thing, and it's really a third generation. His grandfather, a coach at USC, his dad, a great player here, and now John Jackson III is officially in the cardinal and gold today. We thank Coach as always. You can come see him and the Trojans all spring long. Every spring practice is free. It's open to the public. All 15 are on campus, 14 left. Come on down to the practice field and check out the Trojans as you get ready for 2019.